Hey guys, Bubba here with the Bubbanews, all in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing? Seriously, how are you guys doing tonight? It is Wednesday night there, June 4th, and I asked for your prayers. Mrs. Bubba and I, we go to the sports doctor on Friday, the 6th, to see what's going on with her shoulder. So I could use your prayers for that. But yeah, let's, first of all, I apologize for getting this up so late. I went out door dashing tonight and this, that, the other. Anywho, let's get right to it because I'm calling this one Prophecy Unfolding because there's so much going on. Prophecy unfolding now. Prophecy unfolding right before our eyes. Goodness gracious. We're going to start off with some, we're going to talk about Elam. They're, the prophecies there in Jeremiah 49, verses 34 to 39. Talking about Iran and what's coming up, and some stuff with, oh goodness, we'll even throw in some crazy stuff towards the end. Greta Thunberg, they're on the flotilla inbound for Gaza. And of course the IDF won't allow that. But guys, it is crazy town right now. I don't know about you guys, but it is absolutely getting nuts because I'm just watching all this prophecy unfolding right before our very eyes because, guys, I can't stress this enough. If you're not in the scriptures, get in now because it is so alive these days with all the prophecies coming up. But you know what? Here is my list of reasons I am not panicking with what's going on in the world right now. Jesus. Period. Oh, man, guys. If you do not have Jesus, you need him now because you guys are going to start talking about things are going to be falling apart, but we're watching everything through the biblical lens, and we see it all falling into place. We're that close. But like Psalm 27:1, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? You know, if the Lord is our light and our salvation and the strength of our life, you know, we have nothing to fear. We have nothing to be afraid. 1 John 4:4, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And guys, it's getting so exciting. And but yeah, let's just keep going. Today we were talking about this even last night about the UN veto, or the UN Security Council is going to vote today at 4 p.m. Eastern. And they did vote, and we're going to talk about it. But, you know, they demanded an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, respected by all parties, but they didn't push it for the hostages to be released. That's crazy town. We're going to get to that here in a minute, but oh my goodness. That's just one thing that started off, well, that was 4 p.m. today. Of course, there's other news before that. You know, with what's coming up with the prophecies regarding Elam and Iran, you know, I wonder if this could be part of the hook in the jaw for Russia to come into play down the road. Because Trump says that Putin's going to join the nuclear talks with Iran now. Here's what Trump said. I stated to President Putin that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And on this, I believe that we were in agreement. President Putin suggested that he will participate in the discussions with Iran. So what if Russia and the United States get a deal with Iran, but Israel still attacks Iran alone? Deal or no deal? Since Iran, but you know what? Iran does have a military protection partnership there with Russia, with all the stuff they've been signing lately, even for the next 20 years. But Putin might have to act and join in the Islamic Gog Magog coalition to go against Israel in the coming days. You know, because I think that's going to be the final catalyst. One of them to bring this whole Gog Magog thing going is because once Elam and Iran get hit there, that's gonna call Mr. Pooty Boy, Boot Scootin' Putin, right into play. But you know, is the Elam prophecy of Iran? There of Jeremiah 49, verses 34 to 39, the same as the Persia prophecy of Iran in Ezekiel 38, verse 5? No. These are separate, and they're totally fascinating prophecies. And I put this up on Telegram earlier today, and take screenshots, you know, because I know that people love to learn and this, that, the other. Share them with your friends, but, you know, Ezekiel 38, where it mentions Persia in verse 5, and Jeremiah 49, verses 34 to 39, with Elam, they're not the same prophecies. I mean, they're different prophets, different geographical locations even, different battlefields, different defeats. different enemies, Israel versus its enemies. And even Ezekiel emits Elam, but he knows about Elam because he mentions Elam in Ezekiel 32 verses 24 to 25. There's a reason he keeps out this Elam side, the western 1/3 there of Iran, from the Gog-Magog war. And you know what? The Elam prophecy has not been historically fulfilled. Not yet. But it is coming, 100%. It's really wild, guys, seeing all this stuff coming together. So what's the summary of the Elam prophecy coming up? Well, God's going to bring disaster upon them. God's fierce anger. He's going to destroy from there the king and the princes, which could be the Ayatollahs that are ruling the place right now, because they want him kicked out. But God's going to break the bow of Elam. And since Elamites were archers, they were really good archers back in the day, the foremost of their might, it could be their nuclear program with everything that's going on, or it could be their hypersonic ballistic missile program they have. But God's going to bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven and scatter them towards all these winds. It's going to be a worldwide dispersion. And God's going to cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies, like the United States, Israel, the UK. God's going to send the sword after them until he has consumed them. That's a military terminology. And eventually God's going to set his throne there in Elam. In the latter days, bring back the captives of Elam. And we read about the Elamites also in Isaiah 11:11 as part of the remnant of the Jews that go into the millennial reign. But just to show you the location of the proximities of Iran's nuclear enrichment and building capabilities, and this is, whoa, easy there, big boy. Sorry, guys, I got way too excited there. Ay, what did I just do? Good thing I looked down, but my apologies. But yeah, these areas right here, Natanz, Isfahan, Shiraz, and of course the Bushehr nuclear power plants down there, that's for their peaceful civilian nuclear power system. That's Iran's pride and joy. The Bushehr nuclear power plants, and they're almost done with number 2, and they're starting to build number 3. But Elam is the western 1/3, and it's separated from Persia there where it says Iran. That's the Zagros Mountains there. Like Tehran's in the Persian side, because it's on the other side of the Zagros Mountains. But you know what? You can see that Israel has plenty of targets right down here in this Elam area. From Arak to Fordo to Natanz, Isfahan, and down to the very bottom in the yellow, Bushehr. This is their pride and joy, but also keep in mind, their hypersonic ballistic missile city underground, it's hiding in those Zagros Mountains. Especially that Isfahan missile base. The Shiraz missile base, the Arak missile base. A lot of those are hidden, but they know where they are. So Israel's preparing several Iran strike plans for different scenarios. And this is most likely going to include some surprising and deceptive tactical moves. But for now, Israeli defense officials are quietly monitoring the U.S. and Iran nuclear talks. But today's news marks a serious development because here's a recap. Just this week, Trump made it clear once again. He said, we will not allow any enrichment of uranium. So in response, the Ayatollah Khomeini there, a great-haired boy on the right, he doubled down this morning, and he declared that the United States cannot weaken Iran's nuclear program. And he stated flatly, Tehran will not stop its uranium enrichment work. He added, today we're capable of producing nuclear fuel, starting from the mine and going all the way up to the power plant. So like Watchman River Tom today said, they basically announced not only are they getting it from the ground, but they're putting it all the way to what's needed to be done. But meanwhile, Mohammed Eslami, he's the head of the Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, and he reinforced the message saying, we will continue to enrich uranium in Iran with all our might, with all our strength and determination. I mean, it's just a matter of time before an attack on Iran comes. And a humanitarian crisis unfolds all the way across the Persian Gulf when that radiation leaks. And Israel estimates that the nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran are basically on the verge of explosion. A done deal. Nothing's going to happen. The White House said that Iran will face serious consequences if it rejects Witkoff's latest proposal. And the Wall Street Journal today said that U.S. officials expect this new rejection from Iran, and they're considering the next steps. Well, they're still going to try to get in those, I believe they're still going to try to get in a sixth round of Iran nuclear enrichment talks there between the United States and Iran this weekend, Saturday or Sunday, the 7th and 8th. But you know what? I was mentioning the northern group there in Syria. And after those couple rockets that came in, I've been studying a little bit more about it today. But I'm still keeping an eye on that group. And this is a bad picture. I just grabbed this one real quick. But, you know, the spokesman of this Islamic resistance front in Syria, Abu Qasim, he issued an audio recording. And he claimed responsibility for last night's rocket launch there towards the Golan Heights. And he said that this is a true response from Syrian territory to the Israeli strikes on Syria. Keep in mind, Israel has not attacked Syria for weeks now. And the ongoing war in Gaza. But in the recording with the former Syrian flag in the background, he goes on to condemn the recent steps toward a treasonous normalization with Israel by the de facto government in Syria. In other words, they say, no way, Jose. Mr. Jolani, Al-Shara, Mr. Al-Qaeda boy in a suit. So, yeah, they're starting to rise up. So I'm keeping my eye on that. And the same group, they actually carried out a field execution today on a van carrying Alawites after the Israeli attack last night there in Syria, outside of Hama. And, you know, they said that 6 civilians were confirmed taken out. And in recent months, they've taken proud responsibility for their targeted slaughters, especially in the areas populated by the Alawites, such as Homs, the coastal region, and the surrounding areas of Hama. And when they slaughtered the Alawites in April, they described those events as the tip of the iceberg, and that minorities, infidels, and Christians are at the top of the group's priority list. Watching the people groupings in Syria coming together, I think Israel's a new enemy at its doorstep right there with Assyria. Let's not show those pictures. There we go. All right. So, yeah, you never know these days with these guys. But I was watching this earlier, too, because, again, we had a U.S. Air Force RC-135 Rivet Joint aircraft and a U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon. And both aircraft are seeing something of interest there in Elam. Look at how it's just going back and forth there through in the Persian Gulf, just off the western coast of Iran, or Elam. The USA doesn't fly these missions normally, but we've noticed an uptick in them since last week. Remember that? We were showing some of this going on. So they are paying attention to something up there. The Zagros Mountains, yeah, Iran, you guys better watch out. Hey. All right, well, the U.S. vetoed today the United Security Council resolution. So they did actually veto it. But it called for an immediate Gaza ceasefire without any hostage release mentioned. They redid the resolution. All they were calling for was a resumption of aid to the Gazan people in an immediate Gaza ceasefire. That was nuts. The resolution notably made no mention of the Israeli hostages still being held by Hamas. The resolution gained overwhelming support from 14 of the 15 member states. It was 14-1, but was ultimately blocked by a veto from the United States. So, the world really wants a ceasefire, but apparently the 58 hostages are not that important. These are unreal times, guys. This is absolutely nuts. I mean, the Hamas condemned the U.S. for vetoing this, calling it proof of Washington, D.C.'s blind bias toward Israel. Yeah. Those who bless you, I will bless. Those who curse you, Israel, I will curse. So, yeah, Genesis 15. Anyone? But the blind bias toward Israel and support for crimes against humanity in Gaza. This UN Security Council vote was placing the predictive programming into more of the UN members today to vote against Israel, though. We've got to keep that in mind. Because with this Security Council vote, I mean, it was a vote of 14-1. The USA was the lone veto vote. Even the UK and France said yes, and they sided with Hamas with a hearty yes vote. I mean, I know this is all to be expected prophetically, but more and more countries are going to continue to turn on Israel. Zechariah 12, verse 3. That is coming. All right, we'll show Greta here in a minute. Maybe if we still have time, we'll do some verses, because I wanted to go over some of the stuff, because with everything going on with Elam at the beginning with Jeremiah 49, I also want to talk about Damascus. Because if these cuckoo towns are getting crazy stirred up stuff in Assyria, and we know the Damascus prophecy is coming up, with all those chemical weapons underneath Damascus, I think that could be part of the ruins on top of everything else. But anyway, we'll get there. But okay, I'm going to switch gears here. We're going to talk about like the beast system. Most of you by now have heard of Peter Thiel or his data collection company called Palantir. I mean, his stuff goes way back. I've covered it before. A bunch of other guys, Watchmen, have covered him. Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, everybody, all that stuff with Israel, Palantir. Anywho. But Donald Trump and Palantir have teamed up to create a master database on every American. Just 5 months ago, Peter Thiel spoke out against global state surveillance and directly compared it to the Antichrist system, where in the name of peace and safety, guys, this is nuts. He even quotes 1 Thessalonians 5:3 in this video clip. This is nuts. Where in the name of peace and safety, a global surveillance network will be implemented. He was against this 5 months ago. Now, 5 months later, his company Palantir is set to operate the master database containing detailed information on every man, woman, and child. This will include biometric data, DNA, tax records, medical and vaccine history, psychological profiles, and financial information, even your property taxes and your taxes. Say you're behind, or say you're behind on your federal taxes, all to be processed by advanced AI systems that will make serious decisions about your future. Listen to his wording. I'm going to play this clip here, and we're going to show one more, and then we're going to get back to the prophecy with Damascus, guys. Bible prophecy is so unfolding right here, right now.
We have the mechanisms that would make world government, a gigantic global surveillance state, is plausible.
That seems plausible too. And then I think, again, to come back to the Soloviev-Benson plot hole, on its own, they both seem not that desirable. Why would we have a crazy surveillance state? Why would we, why would we do this? But if you're scared enough of these things, that's...
Just let that process for a second. If you're scared enough of these things, that's the weapon. And they've got to do something to bring back the fear in America as well as abroad to get people back in control, like we went through with the masks a couple years back. Let's get going.
That's the weapon. And this is sort of where my speculative thesis is that if the Antichrist were to come to power, it would be by talking about Armageddon all the time. And
Peter Thiel, the Antichrist would talk about Armageddon all the time. He'd scare people and then offer to save them.
Yes, it's the 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety. And so, which is nothing wrong with peace and safety, but you have to sort of imagine that it resonates very differently in a world where the stakes are so absolute, where the stakes are so extreme, where the alternative to peace and safety is, Armageddon and the destruction of all things. And then that's where peace and safety gets you way more than it would have in 1750.
René Girard, in I Saw Satan Fall Like Lightning, one of his books, the Antichrist boasts of bringing to human beings the peace and tolerance that Christianity promised, but has failed to deliver.
There are probably... I think there are all these elements where it's downstream from Christianity. You can think of, the poor shall inherit the earth, Sermon on the Mount. Marxist theory is we're going to be more Christian. We're going to accelerate it. We're going to bring it about faster. So there is, the Antichrist probably presents as a great humanitarian, as a great, it's redistributive. It's as an extremely great philanthropist, as an effective altruist. All of those kinds of things, and these things are not, simply anti-Christian, but it is always when they get overly combined with state power that something is very wrong. There are sort of ways Christ wants to unify the world. You have the parable of the Good Samaritan, where you should take care of people even if you're not related to them, and it's good to act like the Good Samaritan and to take care of people who are not just in your family or tribe or country.
Sounds a lot like the social justice gospel. We are the world. We are the children. Remember that song? Oh my goodness. All right, let's do one more video. But this next one, Peter Thiel describes the Antichrist and his beast system, comparing it to a one world government. Where have we read that? I don't know, the book of Revelation. Hello? This is nuts. This is right in our faces, but he compares it even to communism, so they're basically telling you what's coming. This is why you're going to have the haves and the have-nots. This is why do not touch the oil and the wine. The elites are going to be set for life. But the working Joe Schmo, blue-collar man, no. You know what I mean? But he said that the Antichrist imitates Christ and pretends to be a better Christian than Jesus Christ himself. But forgets that communism has historically forbidden Christianity. What he is essentially describing as the Antichrist system, guys, is in fact artificial intelligence, precisely the core around which his company, Palantir, revolves around. Artificial intelligence imitates consciousness. The internet mirrors the ether. Fall like lightning. Hello. And the people developing AI, they all claim to be religious too, which I find really fascinating. But they are building this beast system right in front of our very eyes with surveillance powered by AI. He even discusses a global dictator and a post-Christian world of all things. Once we're out of here, this is nuts.
But in some sense, the Antichrist as an idea is something that really comes into being in the world after Christ. And so there's there's a lot of things about it that are mysterious. In some ways, the Antichrist copies Christ. The Antichrist pretends to be greater than Christ, hyper-Christian, ultra-Christian, and then maybe only ultimately, deeply anti-Christian.
Okay, so
go ahead. And then you can think of it as a system, where maybe communism is a one-world system. So it can be an ideology or a system, and then of course you can also think of it as Newman did, where it's sort of the final dictator of the one-world state, where it's still. You stress it more as a person. You can think of it as a type, a system, a person. It has something to do in this post-Christian. It's something that's sort of a possibility in this post-Christian world. It is in some ways, and it's related to Christ in a very complicated way. So the theological question you can always ask, is it possible to be too Christian? And in theory, no, but in practice, if you think you're more Christian than Christ, you're in trouble.
Isn't that nuts? They're talking about the post-Christian world. If he can quote and talk about 1 Thessalonians 5:3, I'd like to see his input and his take on 5:2, 5:1, 4:18, 4:17, that kind of stuff. Oh man, guys, the deception is so real, but this is what I'm talking about. Now, we're going to keep going real quick here if you don't mind. I still want to show those verses, but prophecy is definitely unfolding right before our eyes. This is nuts. Oh yeah. Okay, here's our girl, Greta Thunberg. Yeah. So she's on her way to Gaza with like 11 or 12 other people, maybe 14. I don't even know, but there's like 7 on each side. I don't know, but half of them are Frenchies. Yeah, it's nuts. The IDF's like, yeah, we're not going to even let you dock in Gaza. And they're going to scream bloody murder. They've already been screaming bloody murder the past 2 nights now because they keep seeing a drone overhead. That's called the NATO Greek drone. Yes, you are being eyeballed and watched, Greta. I don't even know why, but the IDF is watching you as well. I feel bad for those guys. They're going to need to wash their eyes out with soap. Ay. But you know what? And I had someone, or maybe it's even in a live stream earlier today. Someone was asking, maybe it's in the premiere last night. I don't even remember. First of all, thank you guys, moderators. There, I got it in before the end. But no, seriously, they were asking about the Damascus prophecy. And I wanted to throw them here to Damascus, Jeremiah 49, verse 23. And this one's a good one. Because and we're going to get to Isaiah 17:1 in a second, but look at the 3 cities it mentions. Damascus, Hamath, Arpad. Hamath is modern day Hama. Homs, that area where Israel attacked last night. Arpad is Aleppo, where they just put in a brand new jihadist mayor of Aleppo. I just read that yesterday. I should have covered that too. I mean, this is nuts. For they have heard bad news. They are disheartened. There is anxiety by the sea, and it cannot be calmed. And I've always wondered if this is Israel's using their nuclear subs in the Mediterranean off the coast of Lebanon, firing missiles into Damascus. Or anyway, we'll get to there. But we've all probably seen or heard, maybe not, but let's just review it just for kicks and giggles. Isaiah 17:1, the prophecy about Damascus. The prophecy or the oracle concerning Damascus. Behold, Damascus is about to be removed from being a city, and it will become a ruinous heap or a fallen ruin. This has never happened before. I wanted to point this verse out too, scrolling down, but this ties in. In that day, their strong cities, remember we just read about Damascus, Arpad, Hamath, Aleppo, Hama. In that day, their strong cities will be like forsaken places in the forest, or like branches which they abandoned before the sons of Israel. That's talking about the IDF. Here's another one. The nations rumble on like the rumbling of many waters. Verse 13. Could this be people at the UN? The nations rumbling on like the rumbling of many waters? Because we read about the waters coming, the people there in Revelation 17 of all things. And he will rebuke them, and they will flee far away and be chased like chaff in the mountains before the wind, or like whirling dust before a gale. Right there is a great rabbit trail into Psalm 83, verse 13. Another 13. Isaiah 17:13. Psalm 83:13. And at the end of the chapter, at evening time, behold, there is terror. By morning or before morning, they are no more. Who? Damascus. So something's going to happen that they're going to be very frightened at nighttime. And before sunrise, it's over. There's no more Damascus. Such will be the portion of those who plunder us and the lot of those who pillage us. There's still going to be an invasion coming in to Israel. And they might be trying to plunder Israel. They might be trying to pillage Israel. Not the Zechariah 14, but the Zechariah 12, verse 2, when the siege is against Judah and Jerusalem. And we read down in verses 6 through 9 that Israel takes care of them. God superempowers the IDF, and they take care of these enemies. But these verses in Isaiah tie right into Jeremiah 49:23, concerning Damascus, Hamath, Arpad, Hama, Aleppo. They're put to shame, for they have heard bad news. They are disheartened. There's anxiety by the sea, and it cannot be calmed. Damascus has become helpless. She has turned away to flee, and panic has gripped her. This verse right here, I've always looked at a possible harpazo idiom. In the next 3 lines there, distress and pains have taken hold of her like a woman in childbirth. And that's a really cool segue over here. Yeah, we're going to get to there in Isaiah 26. But just remember, there in the blue and the green, distress and pains have taken hold of her like a woman in childbirth. How the city of praise has not been deserted. The town of my joy. Jerusalem won't be deserted. Jerusalem won't flee at that time. They're not going to have to flee. But therefore, her young men, who? Assyria, Damascus, her young men will fall in her streets. All the men of war will be silenced in that day, declares the Lord of hosts. And I will set fire to the wall of Damascus, and I will devour the fortified towers of Ben-Hadad. Neither of those two things have happened, folks. Seriously, I was researching this even deeper. You know what? Some people say, oh, the Damascus prophecies already happened. It hasn't. I've got a bunch of screenshots. We can go over that sometime. Maybe we'll do that the next video. But no, seriously, it hasn't happened yet, and it's still coming up. All right. Yeah, distress and pains have taken hold of her like a woman in childbirth. This then segues to Isaiah 26:19. Oh, man, it's so cool. Your dead will live. Their corpses will rise. You who lie in the dust, awake and shout for joy. For your dew is as the dew of the dawn. And the earth will give birth to the departed spirits. Come, my people, enter into your rooms and close your doors behind you. Hide for a little while until indignation runs its course. I believe this is talking about Israel. But, especially when it talks about, come, my people, enter into your rooms. But see how it says, come, my people? See how it's not capitalized, my people? That's not talking, I don't believe, about the Jews in this section. Because my people is always capitalized. Come, my people. I believe he's talking about the church in the future. But anyway, I believe it's a prophecy. But anyway, enter into your rooms. Yeah, glory. Close the doors behind you. Yes, because the door is open. Revelation 4:1. Hide for a little while until the indignation runs its course, until all the nastiness gets out of here. For behold, the next verse in verse 21. For behold, the Lord is about to come out of his place. Okay, so now check this out. Because come, my people, enter into your rooms. That's Revelation 4:1. Come up here. After these things. Remember? Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after these things. Revelation 4, verse 1. I just butchered it. But anyway, I get so excited. For behold, the Lord is about to come from his place. That's now talking Revelation 19, verses 1 to 10. And we see where we're coming on a white horses, verse 13. But check it out. For behold, the Lord is about to come out from his place, heaven, to punish the inhabitants of the earth. That is a very specific wording that is used in Revelation 3, verse 10. Part of the promise to the church that we are not going to be here because we will be tereo ek, taken out of, removed from the time of the trial to test the inhabitants of the earth, or the earth dwellers that we read about from Revelation 6 through 18, where we don't see the church, we only see the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity, and the earth will reveal her bloodshed and will no longer cover her slain. So I don't know about you guys, but I get excited when I see these kind of things. And I'm not trying to be eisegesis, I want to be exegesis, have the scriptures speak out to us, but the scriptures are just coming so alive. Oh, goodness, guys. I've already gone, oh, my goodness, 38 minutes. Oh, boy. I didn't mean to do it that long, I promise. Let's see here. What do we have going on? Yeah, we just have Mrs. Bubba coming up on, what is that? Yes, Friday, early morning, 7:30 there with the sports doctor to find out what's going on with her shoulder. But I forgot of one thing. See where Damascus is right there? Check it out. Go like almost a straight line, but just a little bit to the right. You have Damascus, you have Hamath, which is Hama, and you have Aleppo, which is Arpad. Isn't that wild? So those are all the strong cities that he's talking about. Anyway, yeah, prophecy is unfolding, guys, like I've never seen before. Man, this is just getting Nutty Professor, and it's just so exciting. And we are looking every single day for the Lord Jesus Christ, and he is coming so very soon for us. And it's time to get ready, because Jesus Christ is coming so soon. Guys, these prophecies are screaming off the charts. God's word is being fulfilled. Jeremiah 1:12. God is watching over his word to perform it. All these prophecies have been set in advance. And all it just takes is God just saying, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, they're kicking off like rockets. And soon we might be seeing rockets. But we're getting so close. So it's either our departure date is coming very soon, and it may be the restraining power is holding back some of these wars, including Mr. Ayatollah over there. But just like in Jeremiah 49, there verses 37, where in 38, 39, where he's going to remove the princes and the kings. God's going to do some amazing things here, I believe, very soon, because prophecy is unfolding like I've never seen before. Thank you guys so much for your love. Thank you so much for your prayers, and we'll get this uploaded. And Maranatha, we will talk to you soon. I'll see you here, there, or in the air.